But I will make my efforts to basically explain my views of Gandhi on religion to you. All of us here are sitting down. I am standing here. Are we really still? Are we really still while we are sitting or standing? Or if our grandfather sits in an armchair, is he still? I'm going to explain this to you basically to talk to you about my idea of what is spiritual. Now we all belong to this cosmos, this universe, and this universe is infinite. It has no beginning and it has no end. And this universe has many galaxies. And our galaxy is the Milky Way galaxy. Now this Milky Way galaxy is moving in the universe at a speed of about 2.1 million kilometers per hour. The Milky Way is moving through the universe at a speed of 2.1 million kilometers per hour. So all of us are moving at 2.1 million kilometers every hour because our Milky Way is moving in the universe. In the Milky Way, there are millions of solar systems like our solar system, millions of them, and we are actually at the end, one of the sides of the Milky Way, and we move around the center of the Milky Way. The solar system moves around the center of the Milky Way at 220 kilometers per second, and it takes 250 million years to complete one rotation around the center of the Milky Way. So all of us, apart from moving with our Milky Way galaxy at 2.1 kilometers per hour, are also moving at a speed of 220 kilometers per second around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Then we have our own solar system, and we are moving at 1.7 lakhs kilometers per hour around the sun because the earth moves. So again we are moving. Then the earth rotates at the speed of 1,600 kilometers at the equator and 0 kilometers per hour at the poles. So according to where we are rotating along with the earth. I am 63 years old, and by the simple calculation based on this, I have moved about 100 billion kilometers all my life, and this is in addition to my morning walks. So this is what we are doing. We are a very tiny speck in the whole universe. Are we insignificant? I feel we are not insignificant, because though we are tiny specks in this whole universe, we are still a part of the universe. And that's why we are significant, because we are part of it. All the movements of the galaxies, all the movements of the solar systems and all the other solar systems which are there in the Milky Way are not random. They are not like the traffic movement in Panjim. They are very orderly movements. They are movements which are controlled by some kind of unseen force, which sees to it that there is a kind of a rhythm in the whole movement of the planets and the stars. And that unseen force is what one should bow down to. When you realize that you are a mere speck, you realize that you are a part of the whole system, and you are when in this kind of a cosmic picnic we are going, I think there is no scope for hatred. There is no scope for anger. There is no scope for jealousies. I think we should be sort of moving on this cosmic picnic as one humanity. And when you realize that, when you realize how small we are, that is the time I feel we feel spiritual. It is very, very simple. You have to bow down, you have to be humble. To be humble, to bow down to this cosmic force, which is unknown force, is to be humble. And that is my definition of spirituality, which I have understood with my studies of Mahatma Gandhi. This is a cartoon which was recently done by a friend of mine called Punnappa. Where is this year's Miss Universe from? again, the vague planet Earth in the distant Milky Way. So every year, so we have an ego to call ourselves Miss Universe and Miss this universe, but still we are a small speck. And every year the Miss Universe happens to be from the Earth, which is a tiny, tiny speck. So this is sort of talking about our ego. You know, my connection with Mahatma Gandhi dates back to when I was 6 years old, and my father was a school teacher, and he was teaching in Margaon, and we used to stay in Navelim, in a chawl which is called Kamat Chawl. And this was not a chawl like the dirty Bombay chawls. This was a lovely chawl with a lot of palm trees, and we have small row houses in this chawl. And my father was also an artist, and he was commissioned by the Goa government to do portraits of national leaders for the Secretariat when Goa was liberated. Dayanand Bandodkar was the first chief minister, and he commissioned my father. And he created a portrait of Mahatma Gandhi. The portrait was kept in the veranda of the chawl, and my father invited all the little children from the chawl to come and pray in front of the portrait of Mahatma Gandhi. So I remember myself 6 years old with folded hands with all about 30-40 children praying to the portrait of Mahatma Gandhi. Now I ask myself, if today I am commissioned to do a portrait of any leader, will I call my children and my neighbors' children to come and pray in front of that portrait? I think possibly not. That's how far we have moved from some kind of a position which Mahatma Gandhi had, the moral strength which he had, which is summed up very beautifully by a poem by Kusumagraj. There's also, how many of you speak Marathi and understand? Okay, I will recite a poem in Marathi, but then maybe for the benefit of others I will translate it. This is by our own friend Vishnu Wagh, which is he used to be staying not too far from here. Vishnu Wagh has a beautiful poem on Mahatma Gandhi. He says, Rajghatavar Shraddhanjali Wahun Sagre Bagre Nighale. राजघाटावर श्रद्धांजली वाहून सगळे बगळे निघाले आणि महात्म्याचे सत्याचे प्रयोग सत्तेच्या उन्हात जळाले. आणि नंतर थिएटरच्या घुसमटलेल्या वातावरणात कोणीतरी म्हणाले, महात्मा किती ग्रेट होते हे आम्हाला मुन्नाभाईमुळे कळाले. So this is basically Mahatma Gandhi today is very little understood by most people for the simple reason that he is not read enough. Perhaps a film like Munna Bhai little bit stirred the memory of Mahatma Gandhi among the younger people. There is another poem by Kusumagraj, who was a very important poet of Maharashtra. He says, after midnight, 5 statues came down from the podium and went and sat down on a bench in Chowpatty in Mumbai. They sat down on a bench on Chowpatty. Shivaji said, well, I have been reduced to a leader of the Marathas. Tilak said, I have become a leader of the Chitpavan Brahmins. Ambedkar says, well, at least the Dalit community is strongly behind me. Jyotiba Phule said, the Mali community is behind me. Gandhi could not stop a tear. He says, at least behind you, there is your community. Behind me, there is only the wall of every government office. So Gandhi has been just reduced to a portrait in every government office, and nobody really has been bothering about following his ideals, which, let me tell you, have defined what India is. This freedom struggle, which was led by Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, and Patel, and so many stalwarts of our freedom movement, was not a freedom struggle just to get rid of the British people, the colonial rule. It was a struggle for defining the idea of India, what kind of a nation we want to create, and that idea of India is being demolished today. I was on the 30th January 2 years ago at the 30th January road in Delhi, where Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated by Nathuram Godse, and I see there 2 actors moving around. One was dressed like Mr. Modi, and the other one was dressed like Mahatma Gandhi. And they were, of course, planted. Can I have some of these lights off? Because I think visuals are more important than looking at my face. Yeah? Yeah. Because the visuals will be better then. So this was what was happening. And basically the idea of a secular, plural, multicultural India is being demolished today. people want to create a nation with one religion. And this was a very sad thing to see. It was very sad to see that, okay, people who do not follow the principles of Gandhi are sort of posing with Mr. Gandhi's charkha. And there is another one, Mr. Trump. I think he has nothing at all to do with Mahatma Gandhi. And he also went to Sabarmati and posed with the charkha. We have this lady who belongs to the RSS, and she actually, on the Gandhi's birthday on 2nd of January, takes a gun and shoots at the portrait of Gandhi. And she's given a ticket by the BJP and she wins. So that's far away we have come from the principles of Gandhi. So I decided I will do a cartoon. This is a cartoon where Gandhi is garlanded by people whose ideology was actually responsible for killing Mahatma Gandhi. And Gandhi picks up the garland, he smells it, and he says, "These flowers smell of gunpowder." If I have to talk about two greatest Hindus, there is nothing called greatest Hindu and greatest Muslim or greatest Christian. That is a foolish thing to say. But if at all I have to talk about two important Hindus who practice Hinduism, I would say it was Mahatma Gandhi and Vivekananda. And these two had understood the scriptures of the Hinduism so well that when Vivekananda went to represent the Hinduism in Chicago in a World Religious Conference, he delivered a speech. It's a wonderful speech. You can read it on the internet. We don't have it in Vivekananda's voice, but the text is available. I'm going to read only a small text of Vivekananda's speech, which was delivered in Chicago. He says, "Sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, destroyed civilizations, and sent whole nations to despair. Had it not been for these horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it is now." So Vivekananda is completely against fanaticism. Any fanaticism is actually anti-God. And so Vivekananda clearly states that these fanatic elements have destroyed religion and destroyed humanity. And I think it's a great statement from Vivekananda. But unfortunately, those who do not follow this kind of ideology are parading Vivekananda's pictures everywhere. I'm a great student of Mahatma Gandhi. I have been studying Gandhi for the last 10 years, and it has helped me tremendously. Because I started studying Gandhi right from my childhood. But then, in 2014, when I saw what is happening to this country, I was so angry, and I was getting boiled and agitated, and I was hating what was happening. I decided, let me study Gandhi a little bit more in detail. And I have been studying Gandhi, and I realized that Gandhi he's one of the greatest person who walked on this earth. And the kind of ideas which he propagated has influenced many, many people, many struggles worldwide, and keeps influencing struggles worldwide even today. His idea of non-violence is, just 2 days ago, I met a young man from New York. And this young man was a black young man from New York. And he fasted a few weeks ago at the Central Square in New York for Black Lives Matters. And 21 days he fasted. Now, where did this strength come from? It comes from Gandhi. Because the idea, the weapon of fasting was basically offered by Gandhi. Madhu Limay, one of the socialist leaders, has a very interesting statement to make. He says 20th century saw the rise of two powers. 20th century saw the rise of two powers. One was atomic power, and the other one was Gandhi power. And the Gandhi power matters, and Gandhi power has been affecting many revolutions worldwide. I've created many works of Gandhi. This is a Gandhi portrait I did with thorns. Jesus Christ is always shown wearing thorns. Why is he thrown wearing thorns? Because he suffered for the others. And Gandhi also suffered for the others. So I have made these portraits of Gandhi with thorns. This is an interesting work. It's called The Pillars of the Nation's Conscience. If you look at this, in between the two pillars, do you see Gandhi? You just see the space between the pillars. You got him? Yeah. So once you see him, it doesn't leave you. So these are many Gandhi posters. Gandhi has been always likened to divinity. Here he is shown as Rama. Here is shown as Tukaram, who goes Sadeha Vaikuntavas. Tukaram was a saint poet of Maharashtra and is supposed to have gone alive to the heaven. So Gandhi is shown doing that. Gandhi as Krishna lifting the Govardhan Parvat. Interestingly, there is a very interesting sculpture in the museum here in Pilar where there is a Bala Jesus, the baby Jesus, and this baby Jesus is sitting cross-legged. Now, how did this cross-leg come here? Because the Hindu carvers have created this, and they were used to doing the baby Krishna. Krishna is always cross-legged. So the Jesus is also made cross-legs. So there is so much of syncretism, so much of come from one religion to the other. Is amazing. And I think Goa is a wonderful place to see that. You go to Old Goa, there's a painting of Christ, Joseph being carried in the river. And then in this, the dress of the one carrying, the saint who is carrying, is of Vasudeva, Krishna's father. And at the background, you see temples of Benares. I don't know whether you have noticed it, but is Gandhi like Vishnu, Gandhi like Pieta, Christ and Mother Mary. So this has been spontaneously created by artists world over. Even Gandhi as a Superman. This is a recent one. Yeah. I think, see, the younger people respond to this better. This is Gandhi when he was assassinated, when he was killed in 48 in Mumbai. There's a place called Lal Bagh Raja. It's the biggest public celebration of Ganesha. Ganesha was made like Gandhi. I think this is the highest honor a Maharashtrian could give to anybody. Ganesha himself was like Gandhi. And this is a picture from their archives. So Gandhi being garlanded with crown. This is the King George when Gandhi went to visit him. Now the artist has shown Gandhi as a king and King George is bowing down. Gandhi would never do that. But there's a very interesting anecdote. When he went there to meet King George, he was just in his loincloth. And normally in Buckingham Palace, it was not allowed to go in a loincloth. There was a dress code. So the journalist asked him, why did you go dressed like this to meet the king? He said, well, the king was wearing enough for both of us. Yeah, that's a new sculpture with Demanjan Roy, Gandhi with a computer, like the Vodafone dog. So Gandhi is the only leader who almost, how many years, 70, 80 years after his death, is still portrayed by artists and poets and theatre worldwide. Every day there is something happening about Gandhi in some newspaper in the world. Just a few weeks ago in Colombia, there was a road which was supposed to be made traffic free, only for walking. So that area was closed down for cars and this area is only for pedestrians. And what did they do? They had the announcement and they had a big picture of Gandhi which said walk. The Gandhi perfume done by a French company. This was during his lifetime. Gandhi's salt and pepper shaker, again manufactured in Paris. Gandhi paperweight, Gandhi ring. Gandhi's cigarette case, he would not have liked it, but they even made a cigarette case with his picture on it. This is made in Germany. It looks like a whiskey bottle, but it is not. It is a torch. You see on the top there is a little bulb on the top and there is a switch on the side, and it's a torch created in fascist Germany somewhere in 30s. Gandhi pipe, Gandhi paperweight. Gandhi never got a Nobel Prize, but here is Alfred Nobel on one side of a coin and Gandhi on the other side. And then ultimately the Nobel Committee apologized for not giving it to him. Of course, Gandhi is much, much above any prize, so I don't think he needed any Nobel Prize to prove what he was. Kitchen equipments, locks. Gandhi never ever locked any of his houses. The houses were always open, but yet there's a lock with Gandhi's picture. This is very interesting. This was in 1917. There was one guy called Mauricio Achar. Mauricio Achar was from Mexico. He was a rich man, and he came to the conclusion that lots of problems in the world could be solved if people start reading. And I agree with him, because reading is very important. It gives you a perspective of, read history, gives you a perspective of history. Then you can't be fooled by people. If you are knowledgeable, you will not be fooled, otherwise you will be fooled. If somebody tells you this is right, you feel that is right. But then if you are reading and if you are knowledgeable, then you can question. So Mauricio came to the conclusion that a lot of problems in the world could be solved if people start reading. So he decided to use his wealth for starting book shops all around Mexico, and he called them Liberia Gandhi. So there are about 36 Liberia Gandhis in Mexico, and you can check it out on the internet. They have some of the best buildings for bookshops in the world. Gandhi beer. Of course, there was a lot of protest. This is an American beer, and then they called Gandhi Bowl, and then it was cancelled, and it was made only Bowl beer, because there was protests. Some of the Gandhi fans said, if you do this, we are going to make chappals with the American president. And then it was withdrawn, this beer. But well, of course, Gandhi would not have done this revenge kind of thing, because that was not in his way of doing things, that if you do this, I will do this. No, that Gandhi would never do. Gandhi, we're talking about walking. Gandhi walked 80,000 kilometers in his lifetime. And if you know, the equator, the circumference of the earth is 40,000. So Gandhi walked twice around the equator. That's how much he walked. I'm going to share with you some Gandhi films.
But I've got a notion, I'll second the motion, and this is what I'm going to add. You're the top, you're Mahatma Gandhi.
So now, the hero is telling his heroine, you are my Mahatma Gandhi. Now, Gandhi has been featured in almost so many films in Hindi, in Bollywood, where the hero is always having a picture of Gandhi at the back. Many films, including Coolie and many, many films. But he's also, Hollywood has not escaped him. You see here, there is also an American rapper who narrates Gandhi Katha with rap music. So look at this one, Popeye the Sailor Man. So even Popeye could not escape Gandhi. Look at this ad.
If you want to give him a message, it must be a message of love. It must be a message of truth. I want to capture your heart. Let your heart have in unison with what I am saying. I shall finish my work. A friend asked yesterday, did I believe in one word? How can I possibly do other? Of course I believe in word.
So Italian telecommunication company uses Gandhi as a symbol of communication. Gandhi was one of the greatest communicators of all times. You know, at that time there was no mobile phones, there was no television. Yet, when he walked his Dandi March in 1930, the whole media of the world was watching him. So he had such skills that even New York Times declared him the man of the year. He was featured 3 times on the cover of Time magazine. So the world was watching him. So Gandhi had great communication skills. I know one of the greatest contributions of Gandhi is Congress was established in 1884, and Congress was just a debating club of lawyers, Indian lawyers and other lawyers who were educated in England. So it was just a debating club of lawyers. Gandhi joined it and converted it from a debating club of some 24, 25 lawyers to a mass movement that the idea of India's freedom struggle was taken to every home, every farmer's home, every fisherman's home. So Gandhi basically was the greatest of communicators the world has seen. And that is the reason perhaps why this telecommunication company uses Gandhi as a hero. He was a saint who waded into politics. Now, you know, this is a very important thing. I will come to the main subject of my talk today, Gandhi and religion, Gandhi and spiritualism. In what did he see spiritualism? In what did he see religion? One of the greatest compliments to Gandhi comes from Desmond Tutu, Bishop Desmond Tutu of Africa. Now, Desmond Tutu says that Gandhi was spiritual, not just when he was praying. He was as spiritual when he was praying as he was when he was in the prison or in the protest meeting. See, spiritualism did not leave him when he was in a protest meeting. He did not shout against the British and hating them. No, the only thing actually I have learned from Gandhi, or I would say I have acquired from Gandhi after 10 years of study, is I have stopped hating. I shall oppose, but I shall never hate. That's one of the greatest lessons which Gandhi gives you. So Gandhi never hated. He was always spiritual, always connected with the divine. And the greatest example of this is, in 1931, Gandhi goes to England to attend a round table conference. Now, who is Gandhi? Gandhi wants the British colonial rule out of India. And he goes to England, to London. And what happens in London? You please see this, and this is unheard of in any revolution in the world. This is shot in 1931.
Here he is at last, the mystery man of India. Our first glimpse as the Rajputana came alongside at Marseille. And there's a woman of whom you've probably all read, but never seen in a picture. Miss Madeline Slade, the English daughter of an admiral, who now prefers to be known as Malara Ben. She's one of Mr. Gandhi's most devout disciples.
Audible?
She's leading the way ashore now. And just behind her comes Mr. Gandhi, dressed as he said he would be, in just his loincloth, even in the chilly climes of Europe. And he's carrying with him his pots and pans, which he declared at the customs. He was trotted around Marseille to several receptions and made one or two speeches which rather frightened the French authorities. But when asked to speak into the sound-filled microphone, he said, "I think not." And so we go on our way to England. Well, here we are at Folkestone, with the Biarritz coming alongside, and as Gandhi said, in proper English weather, pouring rain and bitterly cold. Miss Slade was the first ashore to tend to the luggage, that is, the goat's milk, etc. She was followed by Gandhi's son, and then came the little man, still scantily clad, but with an extremely wet blanket around his tiny frame. I'm sure he must have been frozen. We were in thick overcoats. He picked his way through the puddles along the quay side, and he was wearing sandals, by the way, to the waiting motor car, for he decided that he'd rather go up to London by road. He insisted on sitting up in the front seat with the driver. He said that he could see better that way. So he tucked himself in, and so off to London, whilst his followers went by the boat train. In town, quite a lot of people had waited in the pouring rain outside the Friends Meeting House on the Euston Road to see what he really looked like. But at first they were quite disappointed because he went in the back way. But shortly afterwards he left by the front way. And then they really did see quite a lot of him, even his knees. No, he won't speak into the microphone. And so to his popular home, where we leave this bizarre little man, whose coming has caused so much comment, complete with loincloth, spinning wheel and goat's milk, feeling sure that he cannot complain of his reception or the publicity he has received, from which, by the way, we always understood that he shrank.
You saw that. Now, this is the kind of a welcome he gets in London. And who is he? He is a man who wants the British colonial power to be out of India. And who are welcoming him? The British people. Now, how does this happen? This kind of a phenomena has not been witnessed in any revolution anywhere in the world. A man who wants your country out of his country is welcomed by the population. And this happened because Gandhi was very clear. Gandhi wanted the British colonial rule to end. He was not against the British people. The most important thing is he made a difference between the sin and the sinner. He wanted to fight the sin, not the sinner. That is very Christian. It is very much Christ-like. You fight the sin, not the sinner. So he wanted the British people to be cured of colonial disease. The disease of colonialism, he wanted to cure them of the colonial disease, and he wanted to free India from the colonial rule. And so his best friends were British. I think only his mother and maybe his father and a few called him Mohan. The only person who called him Mohan, apart from his parents, was Father Andrew, who was a British priest, and he was a close friend of Mahatma Gandhi, and he called him Mohan. And so, this is the reason why he is welcomed like this, and he always forgave. Forgiveness was most important to him. Reconciliation was most important to him. And these are the characters of a religious man, of a spiritual man. This is a place where he stayed, and I was lucky that I have visited all these places as a pilgrimage to Gandhi. Look at that. I must tell you about this lady here in the picture. Her name is Madeleine Slade. What you see, Gandhi is speaking to Romain Rolland. Romain Rolland is a French playwright, and he had already got his Nobel Prize in 1924, and he wrote the first biography of Gandhi, Romain Rolland. And it was very interesting. There was this lady, Madeleine Slade. Madeleine Slade's father was Admiral Slade, and he was an admiral of the British Navy, and he was posted in Bombay. So Madeleine Slade, as a teenager, came to Bombay. They had lost their mother, and so she and her sister were assisting their father in basically organizing parties for the Maharajas, Maharanis, and the higher British officers. And Madeleine Slade was completely bored of this, so she didn't like it. And so when she went for a holiday to London, she never came back. She remained in London. And then she fell in love with the music of Beethoven. Now, she liked Beethoven so much that this was in 1913-14. She started organizing concerts of Beethoven in London. Now, and she was a daughter of the British Admiral. Now, this was not the done thing because Beethoven was German. And they said, how could you organize the concerts of a German musician in London? But she said, music has no borders. Art is a universal language of mankind. And so it doesn't matter whether the musician is German or of any other country. And she continued. And then Romain Rolland, who had got the Nobel Prize for Literature, had just written the first biography of Beethoven. And he was in France. So she goes to France, Madeleine Slade. So much she is in love with Beethoven that she feels that when I listen to his music, I feel I have touched the mysteries of the divine. That's what she feels. And so she goes to France, learns French only to read Beethoven's biography in French, meets Romain Rolland, and Romain Rolland sort of gives her a parting gift. This is the first biography of Gandhi he has written. And Romain Rolland tells her, why are you worshipping dead heroes? There is a living hero here. And Gandhi is now in Ahmedabad. She writes to Gandhi after reading the book. She is the daughter of the British Admiral, whose job it is to protect the British Empire. And his daughter writes to Gandhi that I would like to spend the rest of my life in your service. So Gandhi writes back. He says, it's very good that you would like to serve me and serve India. But if you come to my ashram, you have to be vegetarian. You cannot have wine, and you have to sleep on a hard bed. First, you practice that for 1 year. And after that, if you still feel you want to come, then you can come. So she orders that bed be taken off from her room, becomes vegetarian, stops drinking wine. And then after 1 year, she writes to Gandhi, I am ready now. And she comes to Ahmedabad, falls on his feet. Gandhi lifts her and says, from now on, you will be my daughter. And she is given a new name, Mirabain. So Mirabain is with Gandhi all his life and has done tremendous work for this country, and a daughter of a British admiral. So this is the kind of power Gandhi had, the influences on people. So that is Mirabain, that is Father Andrew on the left side. Martin Luther King is one of the most important leaders who was influenced by Gandhi tremendously. Martin Luther King was fighting the segregation in America. the blacks were segregated, they were not given equal rights. And Martin Luther King belonged to a rather rich family, a wealthy family. So he himself did not suffer the segregation so much, but his friends were suffering, and he wanted to do something for them. So he said, I started reading all kind of philosophies, all kind of methods with which I could sort of help my fellow black people. He studied Aristotle and Plato, he studied Marxism, he studied capitalism. And then he says that I had come so close to hating, despising every white person that Gandhi saved him. So when he read Gandhi, he realized that the method of fighting this is non-violent method. He must not hate the white people, but rather reconcile, have dialogues, and that's what he did. And when he got his Nobel Prize, Martin Luther King dedicates it to Mahatma Gandhi. He accepts in the name of Gandhi. So that is the kind of influence Gandhi has had. Martin Luther King with the Gandhi book, and he had a portrait of Mahatma Gandhi in his study, as you can see here. There were many other leaders. I will not go through all of them because I'm just looking at the watch. I don't have much time right now. So I will just, these are words of Martin Luther King. He says that Christ gave us goals and Mahatma Gandhi the tactics. Because Martin Luther King was a priest. And he says that Christ gave the goals and Mahatma Gandhi the tactics. Nelson Mandela. Albert Einstein has some of the best tributes to Gandhi. The famous tribute is, of course, generations to come shall scarce believe that such a one in flesh and blood ever walked upon this earth. That's what Einstein says. Einstein has written widely, a lot about Gandhi, and he considers Gandhi as one of the greatest persons he has ever known. And they never met, but they corresponded. And here is Einstein's equation. E is equal to mc square, where E is the energy, m is the mass, and c is the velocity of light. So even 1 gram of mass will have energy which is 1 into the velocity of light, which can be then extracted through the atomic fusion. So that's the equation of Einstein. Gandhi's equation, in my opinion, is very similar. But here E is the energy, M is the masses of the world, and C is compassion. I think the power of compassion is as big as any atomic power. Yeah, this is Will Durant, I will skip him. Obama, when he was asked to say, if you want to have dinner with anybody living or dead, with whom would you have dinner? He said Mahatma Gandhi, and then he added, it is going to be a frugal meal. Well, I will now speak a little about Gandhi and religion. You know, Gandhi, when he went to London to become a barrister, he was not religious. He had not read Gita, he had not read any religious text. But when he goes there to become a barrister, he meets people from the Theosophical Society. He meets Madame Blavatsky and Annie Besant. And there is a Theosophical Society, and in this Theosophical Society he goes for meetings. He also joins the Vegetarian Society in London, and there he starts reading about Gita, which was written by Sir Edwin Arnold. Edwin Arnold was a philosopher, writer of that time. I'm talking about 1890s. That's when Gandhi goes there. 1808, actually 87 to 90. And so Arnold has written translations of Gita. This is called Song Celestial. That's the translation of Bhagavad Gita. And other one is The Light of Asia, is a translation of Buddha's teaching. And these two books are read by Gandhi, and that converts him completely. Then Gandhi becomes absolutely religious, and he also becomes a vegetarian. He goes to London. He was not a vegetarian. He had eaten meat. I will tell you that story later. But this is his first encounter with religion. And he stays with a Christian priest. He shares a home with a Christian priest who wants to convert him. He doesn't get converted, but then he is always in constant dialogues with him. So he studies Bible. He likes the speech on the Mount, is one of his favorite speeches. Then he studies Quran. He studies other religious texts. And Gandhi becomes a learned religious scholar, actually in England, and he was only 21 years old. At the age of 21, he has read all this. And he becomes a very learned man in theology. Here, Gandhi had a friend called Sheikh Mehtab. With Sheikh Mehtab in Porbandar, he used to go and eat meat. And the family was vegetarian. But when he used to come back, he had to tell his mother, I'm not hungry anymore. because he has already eaten. And then he had to lie to his mother. So then he decides, he doesn't like lying to his mother. So he says, I'm not going to eat meat anymore. I'm only going to eat meat after my mother dies. Then I will eat it openly. But till then, I'm not going to eat it. And he gives a promise to his mother that he's not going to eat meat in England. So when he goes as a student to England, he is actually a convinced non-vegetarian. He is sort of going to eat meat only his mother dies openly. But then he joins the Vegetarian Society in London and becomes a convinced vegetarian. Recently, people have been killed because they were found, so some beef was found in their fridge. This is what is happening in this country today. This is how intolerant we are. I must tell you a story of Gandhi. This is in 1897. Gandhi is returning to India via England. And he's already a great figure in South Africa. He's coming from South Africa to India. And already known to everybody, the captain knows him, everybody knows him. And his wife, Kasturba, requests the captain, can I cook for my husband separately? Because everybody by now knows the fads of Gandhi about eating. So the captain says, yes, sure, we will give you there is a free cabin and we will put a stove there and you can cook for your husband in that cabin. Gandhi refuses. He says, no, please give me a little place in the common kitchen of the ship. But the captain says, but there is beef, there is pork, there is fish, there is all kind of meats there. How can you be cooking there? He says, it doesn't matter. Give me just a corner. And Gandhi cooks in the corner of this common kitchen. So that is the kind of tolerance Gandhi had. And I think this is something to be learned. He was a vegetarian. But to be sort of violent to other people who eat meat would be non-violence. There is Desmond Tutu, who called him the transcendental, always accompanied Gandhi. This is one of my works. Maybe some of you might be feeling hurt by this work of mine, but I feel that spiritualism is draining out of many religions, because most of the things which I see in the name of religion is a ritual and not spiritual. And that's why I have made SPI white and the ritual is gold-studded. Because this is very commonly happening. It is important to be spiritual. A ritual is, I think, not important. Now, Gandhi never had a temple, a church, or a mosque, or a gurudwara in any of his establishments, any of his ashram. But there was an interfaith prayer. And there were prayers from Bible, there were prayers from Buddhism, there were prayers from Islam. And all these prayers were sung together in his ashram. And where did this come from? This again dates back to somewhere 1896, when Gandhi is traveling from Africa to Africa from Bombay, and there is a storm off coast Zanzibar. And the storm is so bad that everybody is now convinced that the ship is going to sink. So everybody is praying. And Gandhi says, I heard prayers. There were prayers to Jesus Christ, there were prayers to Buddha, Shiva, Jesus, there were prayers to Allah. He says the sounds were different, but the spirit was the same. And then, of course, the ship did not sink. And then this remained with Gandhi. And that is sort of the origin of the interfaith prayers Gandhi started. And this is what I read from, and I was told about this by Gandhi's grandson. This is another very interesting allegory. Gandhi was against conversion. That was his opinion. But he had a very interesting allegory, a very interesting metaphor, which he says. He says, all religions of the world are different compartments of one train going to one destination. What a beautiful metaphor. All religions are different compartments of one train, and they will reach the same destination. So he said, there is no need of changing compartment, because all of you will go the same place. But he warns, but there is something important which is necessary. He says you have to clean the compartments. If you don't clean the compartments, then they will become dirty. And cleaning of the compartment is a metaphor for religious reforms, because he believes that there should be reforms in every religion. He has a very famous statement. He says, "Sab dharm अच्छे हैं, लेकिन सब धर्म कच्चे भी हैं." Because basically the religions bring the word of God through human beings, so there can be always some defects. And he is wanting to cure Hinduism of the defects. He says if any scriptures in Hinduism talk about untouchability, throw those scriptures in the dustbin. He has the courage to say that. And he says that also about Quran and about Christianity. So he is open to reform of all religions and speaks about it very boldly. That's Rajmohan Gandhi, his grandson. I met him and I showed him my work on Gandhi, and he connected me with Gandhi museums. And I went to the Gandhi Museum in Delhi. Huh? Oh, what happened? This happened some time back? Okay, that's Rajmohan Gandhi. So Rajmohan Gandhi is Gandhi's grandson. Gandhi's son married Rajaji's daughter. Rajaji was from South India, a great leader, and so that's why his son has a little feature of Rajaji, those who are aware of Rajaji's portrait. 1 minute. Yeah. So Gandhi, he connected me to many museums, and I went to Delhi in the Gandhi Museum, and the director knew that I was an ex-doctor. So even before talking to me, he just pointed to a chair, I sat down, and he opened a cupboard and gave me a file. That is the original medical file of Mahatma Gandhi. It had blood reports, it has all kind of reports, letters written by doctors to Nehru and Patel about how to look after Gandhi's health, and it had 3 cardiograms. So I photographed this cardiogram, and I started thinking, now how do I use this to create art? And what I did was very simple. I think you are aware that any doodle can be converted into a sound. Any graph can be converted into sound. And there is an app available on the internet for this. So if you convert Gandhi's cardiogram into sound, those are Gandhi's heart sounds. That's precisely what I did. So you are going to hear Gandhi's heart sounds now. The sound can be adjusted by somebody. Yeah. Those are Gandhi's heart sounds. And why I am making you hear Gandhi's heart sounds? I think because Gandhi had one of the kindest hearts in the world, and he basically equated kindness, love with God. For him, to love, to empathize was God, cleanliness was God, ahimsa was God. And so that's why Gandhi's heart sounds are very important, because you have to understand the kindness of that heart. Now these are some of the statements Gandhi does. There is an indefinable, mysterious power that pervades everything. I feel it. Though I do not see it, it is this unseen power which makes itself felt and yet defies all proof. Because it is so unlike all that I perceive through my senses, it transcends the senses. Basically, he talks about his power. The senses cannot define it. It has to be beyond. He says, if I have a debate with atheists, that the existence of God is existing or not existing, they might defeat me. But he says, my faith is running so fast that I think it can never ever be defeated. That's what he believes in. For him, a prayer is a real thing. Prayer is not just one thing to be done just once a day. For him, prayer is as important as eating, walking, and sleeping. So he says it's a real thing. There was a very interesting debate. You know, initially, Gandhi always talked about God is truth. And in Europe, during this time, there were all these scientists who basically were demolishing the idea of God. They said, it is science will explain everything. We don't need God. That was an intellectual trend which was prevalent. So Gandhi sort of, said, okay, that's fine. Then he changed his idea. Earlier he said God is truth. Then he said truth is God. God has many different words. God is called Almighty, King of Kings and everything, but he says the best word, the best description of God is truth. And then he describes what truth is. So for Gandhi, truth was God. And when he said truth was God, all the scientists in Europe who were sort of denying God didn't know how to respond to this. He said, all that you are doing is also you are in search of truth. And I'm also in search of truth, because truth itself is God. Gandhi neurons. You know, if I see Father Elvis touching his friend, I am not touching anybody. Then the sensory neurons in my brain fire. I am not doing any touching. He is touching somebody's right hand, and then the sensory neurons in brain fire. And scientifically, they are called mirror neurons. I am not doing that act, but I see somebody else doing this act, my neurons fire. Now suppose I give an injection of anesthetic to my brachial plexus and make my right hand numb. And then I see Father Elvis touching the right hand of his friend, I will feel the touch. This has been scientifically proven. And so these were called neurons of empathy. And then this Dr. Ramachandran, who's a neurophysicist in New York, calls them Gandhi neurons. He has renamed them Gandhi neurons because they're neurons of empathy, and Gandhi was a man full of empathy. Now, earlier, the idea of a universal consciousness is a philosophical idea, that our consciousness is connected. The consciousness of all the humanity in the world is connected, is a philosophical idea. But with this scientific proof, it has become a solid scientific idea, that our consciousness is connected. And the whole idea of non-violence of Mahatma Gandhi is based on this precise, that if I hurt you, I will also be hurt. So that's the kind of a foundation of the idea of non-violence. Yeah, ahimsa is truth, ahimsa is God. Gandhi and happiness. You know, Gandhi has a very interesting definition for happiness. He says you can only be happy when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. If you're thinking about something else, saying something else, and doing something completely different, you can never be happy. You might be able to fool the whole world that, okay, I'm such a person, and convince everybody. But at the end of the day, when you go and put your head on your pillow, you know exactly what kind of a person you are, and you can never fool yourself. And so, you can never be happy if you don't respect yourself. And you can respect yourself only when what you think, what you say, and what you do is in perfect harmony. And that is Gandhi's definition of how you could be happy. Well, there are many other things which, we can talk about Gandhi and happiness, but I think the time is short, so I will, leave some time for some questions. Yeah, I think this is the last thing I'm going to show you, and I will take questions later. Is this a rabbit or a duck? Some you say rabbit, some you say duck. You know, there are a lot of religious fight, fanatic religious people fight, and the fight is something like this. There can be no peace until you renounce your rabbit god and accept our duck god. And it is a rabbit and a duck are the same. But this simple thing is not understood by fanatic people, and then they fight over religion. There is so much of bloodshed over religion. That's what Gandhi would be completely against. I think I will stop here. I think I have given you enough to think, and any questions, or 2-3 questions are most welcome.